The strange signal. Alara sat in her small wooden house at the edge of the silent forest. The world had changed, cities had fallen, and most people were gone. She was one of the few left in her village, alone but still breathing. Every night, she turned on her old radio, even though the world had no stations anymore. It gave her comfort, the crackling sound, the noise of something alive. The radio had belonged to her father, who once told her, "As long as this radio makes sound, we are not fully alone." Now he was gone, but the radio still worked. Sometimes she thought she heard voices in the static, but she told herself it was only her imagination. On this night, the sky was dark, the stars sharp, and the air heavy with silence. Alara sat by the radio again, twisting the dial with tired fingers. Suddenly, the crackle changed. Instead of noise, a voice slipped out, low, deep, and strange. It was not human. The sound was too smooth, too clear, almost like music. Her heart raced. She froze, leaning closer. The voice said a word, a name, her name. Alara. It whispered through the static. She pulled back in shock. Her chair creaked. Her breath caught in her chest. How could the radio know her name? How could a voice that was not human speak it so clearly? She whispered to herself, "This is not real." But the radio spoke again. "Alara, last daughter of Earth," the voice said slowly, each word heavy with meaning. Her hands shook. She wanted to turn the radio off, but something inside her refused. Her loneliness, her need for connection, held her in place. She leaned closer. "Who are you?" she asked, her voice trembling. For a moment there was only silence. Then the voice answered. "I am Kale," it said. "I have watched you from afar, and now I speak because the time has come." Alara blinked, her mind spinning. She had never heard the name before, never known anyone like this. She asked again, "Why me?" Her voice barely a whisper. The reply came, calm and powerful. "Because you are the last key of humanity," Kale said. Her skin chilled. She looked around the room as if someone might be hiding in the shadows. But she was alone. Only the radio glowed with faint light. The sound of his voice made her chest heavy, as if she stood at the edge of something vast and dangerous. She tried to laugh, but her throat was dry. "This is crazy," she muttered. "You are not real. I am imagining this." But then the voice shifted. It grew warmer, closer, like someone whispering right in her ear. "Alara," Kale said, "you are not alone. You are never alone. I promised long ago that I would come for you." Her heart pounded. Her palms were wet with sweat. Something in his tone was not threatening, but protective, almost sorrowful. She stared at the radio, her fear mixing with curiosity. "What do you want from me?" she asked. The answer came like a low hum, steady and clear. "To remind you of the vow made to your world, and to prepare you for what is coming." Her body stiffened. The room felt colder. "What is coming?" she whispered. The radio crackled, and for a moment she thought she heard the sound of wings, of storms far away. Then Kale said, "The others, they have grown tired of waiting. They no longer believe in humanity's worth. They are coming to end what remains." Alara's chest tightened. Fear clawed at her stomach. "Others," he had said. "What others?" She grabbed the edge of the table, her nails pressing into the wood. "Why are you telling me this?" she demanded, her voice breaking. The reply came slowly, almost like a vow. "Because I chose you, because only you can carry the last promise, and because time is running out." The signal wavered, the static returned for a moment, and she panicked. "Wait," she shouted at the radio, "don't go." The voice returned, softer now, but still clear. "I will find you, Alara. Follow the signal. Do not be afraid." Then the sound faded. The crackling noise swallowed his words. Alara stared at the radio, her heart racing so hard it hurt. Her lonely world had just cracked open. A voice not of Earth knew her name, knew her life, and had chosen her for something beyond her understanding. She wanted to believe it was only a dream, only madness, but her soul whispered otherwise. For the first time in years, she felt something other than emptiness. She felt fear, wonder, and the dangerous spark of hope. Alara sat in silence, the forest outside humming with night sounds. The radio hissed softly, no more voice, no more words. But she knew this was only the beginning. The strange signal had found her, and nothing in her life would ever be the same again. The encounter. The next morning, Alara could not stop thinking about the signal. Her mind replayed the voice over and over. The strange name, the vow, the warning. She told herself it was impossible, but deep inside, she felt something pulling her. It was not just a voice. It was a call she could not ignore. The day passed slowly, heavy with silence. By evening, the radio came alive again, crackling louder than usual. Her chest tightened. She rushed to the table, her hand hovering above the old machine. The static danced, then Kale's voice returned. Alara, follow the path. I am waiting. Her breath caught. She whispered, where? The radio gave no answer, only the same phrase repeated like an echo. Follow the path. I am waiting. Her fear battled with her loneliness. Her curiosity battled with her dread. At last, she wrapped her coat around her shoulders and stepped into the forest. The night was deep, shadows thick between the trees. The wind whispered like voices, carrying the weight of secrets. Each step she took seemed louder than it should, the crunch of leaves, the crack of twigs. Her heart raced, but she did not turn back. Something inside her knew she was moving toward her fate. After an hour of walking, the forest grew strange. The trees bent in odd shapes, glowing faintly as if lit from inside. She stopped, staring in awe. This was no ordinary place. The air vibrated softly, and her skin prickled as though touched by unseen hands. Then she heard it. Not the radio this time, but the voice itself, close and alive. Alara. She spun around, her eyes wide. There, standing in the clearing, was a figure unlike anything she had ever seen. Tall, shining faintly with pale light. His form was both solid and transparent. His eyes glowed like two silver moons, and when he spoke, the air itself seemed to bend. I am Kale, he said, bowing his head. Alara stumbled back, her hands shaking, her breath shallow. She whispered, "You're real," as if saying it might make the vision vanish. But he remained steady, calm, watching her with something that looked like sorrow. He nodded, "Yes, and I have come as I promised." She stared at him, torn between fear and fascination. "You know my name, you know me, why?" she demanded. Kale's face softened, though his features were not quite human. "Because long ago, my people made a vow to your kind, a vow to guard, a vow to guide, a vow to never let you fade." He stepped closer, his light brushing the air like waves of warmth. "But others have abandoned that vow," he continued, his voice low. "They have turned against humanity. They believe your time is over, that your world is no longer worth saving." Alara's stomach tightened. The memory of his warning on the radio surged back. "And you?" she asked, her voice trembling. "What about you?" He paused, his glowing eyes locking with hers. "I kept my vow," he said, his tone steady but heavy. "I chose to remain when the others walked away. I chose to protect, even if it meant standing alone." His words cut through her fear, leaving her with confusion and a strange sense of weight. "But why me?" she asked, her throat dry. "Why not someone stronger, someone better?" Kale tilted his head slightly, his light dimming for a moment. "Because you are the last key, because within you lies what they could never destroy." Alara shook her head, stepping back. "I don't understand," she whispered. "I'm just a girl. I'm no one. I can't be what you think." Kale raised his hand, and for a moment the forest itself seemed to bend toward him. The trees stilled, the air calmed, and then a small sphere of light appeared in his palm. He held it out to her, his voice soft. "This is not about who you were, Alara. It is about who you can be." The sphere glowed brighter, humming gently. Her eyes locked on it, her body frozen with awe and fear. "Take it," Kale urged, "and you will see what I see." Her fingers trembled as she reached forward. The moment her hand brushed the sphere, warmth flooded through her veins. Images flashed in her mind, stars exploding, cities rising, strange beings standing tall, wars in the skies, vows written in light. She gasped, pulling her hand back, her body shaking. "What was that?" she cried. "What did you show me?" Kale lowered his hand slowly, the sphere fading away. "The truth," he said simply, "the truth of our bond, the truth of what is coming." Alara's knees weakened. She fell against a tree, her breath uneven. She wanted to run, but she could not. Her heart would not let her. She stared at Kale again, and in his glowing eyes she saw no lies, only burden. Only a vow carried for too long. Kale stepped closer, lowering himself so his voice was gentle. "Alara, I will not force you, but soon you must decide, with me or without me. The fate of your kind rests in your hands." Her chest heaved, her mind spinning, her soul torn between disbelief and the pull of something greater. The forest around them pulsed with strange light, as if listening, as if waiting. Alara closed her eyes, knowing one thing for certain. Her life would never again be her own. The hidden bond. Alara did not sleep that night. The memory of Kale's glowing form haunted her eyes. The warmth of the sphere burned in her hand, even after it vanished. Her mind told her to forget, to pretend it never happened, but her heart pulled her back toward him. Something inside her had changed, something she could not explain. At dawn, she stepped outside. The forest was quiet, the sky painted with pale colors of morning. She thought maybe Kale would be gone, maybe it had all been a dream, but the air itself felt different, as if the trees were awake, as if the ground was breathing. Then she heard him, not from the radio, not from the shadows, but inside her mind. "Alara." She froze, her breath catching. The voice was not spoken, yet it was there, clear and calm, echoing in her thoughts. She clutched her chest, her eyes wide. "You're inside me," she whispered, her voice trembling. "Yes," Kale answered softly. "The bond has begun." Her legs weakened. She leaned against a tree, her heart pounding. "What bond?" she asked, her voice breaking. Kale appeared before her, not stepping out of the forest, not walking, but simply there, shimmering with silver light. "The vow cannot exist without connection, and now it has chosen you." Alara shook her head, stepping back. "No, I didn't ask for this. I didn't want this," she cried. Kale's eyes softened, his glowing form lowering slightly. "Neither did I, Alara, but vows are not made from desire. They are made from duty, from sacrifice." His voice was heavy, as if he carried centuries of sorrow. She stared at him, anger flashing through her fear. "You say duty, but what about my life? What about my choice?" Kale's glow dimmed for a moment. "You still have choice, but the bond is alive now. It will not break unless you shatter it with your own hands." Her breath caught, her mind spinning at the weight of his words. "What happens if I break it?" she whispered. Kale paused, his face unreadable. "If you break it, the vow will die, and humanity will stand alone, unprotected, unseen, forgotten." The words struck her chest like stones. She looked away, unable to speak. The silence stretched, only the wind moving through the branches. Then Kale spoke again, his tones softer, almost pleading. "Do you feel it, Alara? The bond is more than words. It is life itself. It breathes with us." She frowned, shaking her head. "I don't feel anything." But even as she said it, she knew it was not true. Her body carried a strange warmth, not from the sun, not from fire. It pulsed faintly in her chest, steady like a second heartbeat. She closed her eyes, and in that moment, she saw flashes again. Stars, oceans, battles in the skies. Kale standing against shadows larger than himself. Her eyes snapped open, gasping. "What was that? I saw you." Kale bowed his head. "The bond lets you see pieces of me, as I see pieces of you." She froze, heat rushing to her face. "You can see me?" she asked sharply. Kale's silver eyes met hers. Yes, your pain, your loneliness, your strength, your fear. I see it all, as you see pieces of me. Alara's chest tightened, her walls breaking for the first time in years. The thought of someone seeing her so clearly frightened her more than the alien glow before her. "Stop it," she whispered, tears burning her eyes. "Stop looking at me." Kale's glow flickered, but he did not turn away. "I cannot stop. The bond has no lies, no shadows. It shows what we try to hide." She pressed her hands against her face, trembling. "This is too much," she cried. "I don't want to be seen." Kale stepped closer, his voice low, heavy with sadness. "Neither did I, Alara. For centuries I carried silence, hiding even from myself, but the vow does not care for what we want. It shows what is true." His words struck her differently, not as a threat, but as a confession. She lowered her hands slowly, staring at him through blurred eyes. For the first time, she felt his loneliness too, heavy and endless. The bond tightened between them, invisible yet unbreakable. Alara felt her anger soften, though fear still gripped her. She whispered, "If this is true, if this bond is real, then what now?" Kale lifted his head, his voice steady again. "Now we prepare, for the others will come soon, and they will not show mercy." Her chest rose sharply, fear clawing at her throat. She whispered, "And if I refuse you, if I run, if I break it?" Kale's silver eyes dimmed with sorrow. "Then the vow ends, and with it, the last hope of your people." The forest fell silent again, holding its breath around them. Alara stood frozen, torn between fear and fate. Her world was no longer only hers, her thoughts no longer silent, her heart no longer alone. The hidden bond had awakened, and whether she wanted it or not, it tied her life to Kale's. The vow of an alien and the soul of a human, bound together in shadows and light. And in the distance, above the still forest, a low hum rolled across the sky, as if warning that their time was running out. The alien bride's vow. The forest had not released its breath since Kale's words. Alara stood stiff, her hands shaking, the invisible bond burning faintly in her chest. She wanted to run, but her legs would not move. Her heart was tied to something larger than her. Kale watched her, his silver eyes glowing softly, heavy with a truth he had not yet spoken. "Alara," he said quietly, "there is something you must know, something my people never told yours." She glared at him, her voice sharp. "Another secret, another burden you want to throw on me." His glow dimmed, but his voice stayed calm. "No, not a burden, a vow. The vow that binds me to you." Her chest tightened. She whispered, "What vow?" Kale took a step closer, the ground around him glowing faintly with silver light. "In the oldest time, when humans first looked at the stars, my kind made a promise, a vow to stand with one of yours, not as master, not as ruler, but as bride and shield." Alara's breath caught, her eyes widening. "Bride," she repeated, the word heavy, almost absurd in her mouth. Kale lowered his head. "Yes, it is the ancient bond, the joining of two worlds, sealed by choice, sealed by sacrifice." She shook her head violently, stepping back until her shoulders struck a tree. "No, no, you can't mean that. I don't even know you. You're not even human." Her voice broke, her chest heaving. Kale's silver eyes lifted, and for the first time she saw not power but grief in them. "I did not choose the word, Alara, but I chose the vow, and now the vow has chosen you." She pressed her hands to her temples, her mind spinning. "This is insane. This is wrong. I can't be what you want." Kale's voice deepened, carrying both strength and sorrow. "It is not what I want. It is what was written. When my people promised never to abandon yours, one would stay, one would vow, and one would stand as bride to humanity." The forest grew stiller, as if the trees themselves bent to listen. Alara's body shook, her throat dry. "And what does this even mean, bride, vow shield? What happens to me?" Kale stepped closer, his light brushing against her skin like warmth from a hidden fire. It means your life will no longer be only yours. It means the bond will grow until our souls cannot be pulled apart. It means when the darkness comes, I will stand in front of you, even if it costs me everything. His words hung in the air like chains, heavy and unbreakable. She stared at him, stunned. You're telling me I have no choice, that I'm bound to you forever. Kale's glow flickered, his voice low. You do have choice, Alara. The vow can be broken if you truly reject it. But if you accept it, you will never be alone again, and neither will I. The last words trembled, as if he himself feared them. Alara closed her eyes, her body shaking with anger and confusion. Her whole life she had been alone. Her whole life she had begged for connection. And now, when it came wrapped in chains of destiny. She whispered through clenched teeth, Why me? Why not someone else? Kale raised his hand, light shimmering around his palm. Because only you still carry the spark that cannot be destroyed. Only you can hold the vow without breaking. A sphere of light appeared again, brighter this time, brighter than the first. It pulsed gently, as though alive, and Kale lowered it between them. This is the vow's seal, he said softly. If you accept, it will bind to you fully, and no force in this universe will undo it. Alara's eyes burned with tears. She shook her head violently. I never asked for this. I never wanted this. Kale's face darkened, sorrow tightening his features. Neither did I, he admitted, his voice raw. I lost everything when I chose to remain. I lost my people. I lost my name. And now all I have is this vow, this promise that I must carry. The silver light around him dimmed, flickering weakly. Alara's anger softened for a moment, seeing him not as a glowing figure of power, but as something broken, something bound just like her. The bond between them pulsed again, heavier, deeper, undeniable. She wiped her eyes with trembling hands, staring at the glowing seal floating between them. The forest was silent, her heart loud in her chest. If she reached forward, her life would be changed forever. If she refused, she would carry the weight of ending the vow, ending Kale, ending humanity's last protection. Her body shook, her voice breaking as she whispered, I don't know if I can. Kale lowered his head, his voice soft, almost pleading. Then let the vow wait. Alara, it does not demand today, but it will demand soon. The seal of light faded, vanishing into the night air. Alara's chest ached, her soul heavy, her mind torn. The vow of the alien bride had been spoken, and now her choice would shape the fate of more than just herself. Above the forest, clouds rolled in, dark and silent. The air trembled with something vast, something watching, and in the far distance, hidden beyond the stars, others stirred, restless, preparing. The vow had been revealed, the bond had been sealed, and time was slipping away, the rising threat. For days, Alara avoided the forest. She tried to push Kale's words out of her mind, tried to live as if nothing had changed. But every night, when the stars burned above her roof, she felt the bond thrum in her chest like a hidden drum. And every time she closed her eyes, she saw flashes, battles in the skies, silver light clashing with shadows. The vow would not let her forget. One evening, as she fetched water from the old well, she noticed the silence. The forest, usually full of night songs and rustling leaves, had gone still. No birds, no wind, no insects, only silence heavy as stone. Her skin prickled, her hands shook on the rope. Something unseen was watching her. Alara, Kale's voice whispered suddenly inside her mind. She gasped, dropping the rope, the bucket clattering against stone. Stay inside. His voice pressed hard, urgent. They are near. Her heart raced. She turned toward her house, but before she could run, the air above the trees split open. A low hum spread across the sky, deep and unnatural. She froze, her eyes lifting. Above her, three dark shapes hovered, sharp and metallic, their forms like blades cutting through the night. No wings, no sound of engines, only silence as they drifted, glowing faintly with red light. She stumbled back, terror flooding her. "What are they?" she whispered aloud. Kale appeared beside her, his silver glow flaring against the red light. His voice was grim. "Hunters, they come for me, but they will not spare you." The ground beneath them trembled faintly as the ships shifted, their lights sweeping across the forest like searching eyes. Alara's chest tightened. "What do we do?" Kale placed a hand on her shoulder, his light seeping into her skin. "Run," he said, his voice like steel. Before she could protest, the hunters struck. One of the ships released a beam of red fire that scorched the ground near the well, sending dirt and stone flying. Alara screamed, falling back. Kale raised his hand, and a shield of silver light burst into existence, blocking the next strike. The clash shook the air, the forest rippling with waves of energy. Kale's face tightened with strain, his glow flickering. "These are my own kind," he muttered. "They will not stop, not until I am destroyed or the vow is broken." Alara's breath came fast, her fear cutting deep. She shouted, "Then why protect me? Why risk yourself?" Kale's silver eyes burned brighter. "Because that is the vow, because without you, there is no hope." The hunters circled, their beams tearing through the trees, setting them ablaze with red fire. The forest, once alive with whispers, now screamed with destruction. Alara coughed on smoke, her eyes watering. "Go," Kale commanded, pushing her back toward the house. She stumbled, but her feet obeyed, running through the chaos. The ground shook as beams exploded behind her, trees falling, branches cracking. She looked back once, just once, and saw Kale standing alone, silver light against three shadows. His form flickered as he blocked another strike, his strength thinning. Inside her house, she collapsed against the door, tears burning her face. But the bond pulsed in her chest, pulling her thoughts back to him. She could feel his pain, feel the strain in his body, feel the weight of his fight. "No," she whispered, shaking her head. "I can't leave him." Her hands clenched, her fear twisting into something harder. The bond flared, showing her flashes again. Kale's strength fading, his light dimming, the hunters closing in. Her breath hitched. She realized the bond was not just sharing his pain, it was offering her his strength. Her body glowed faintly, silver veins of light racing across her arms. She gasped, staring at her hands. "What is happening to me?" Kale's voice thundered in her mind, strained but alive. "The vow, Alara, it answers you, use it." Her heart pounded, the glow in her chest growing hotter. For the first time, she felt power inside her. Not just fear, not just helplessness, but something greater. She stumbled to her feet, her body trembling with new fire. Her whisper was steady. "I won't let you fight alone." She burst from the house, silver light spilling from her body. The hunters turned, their red beams locking onto her. Kale's eyes widened when he saw her, his voice sharp with warning. "No, it's too soon." But Alara raised her hands, the light surging out like a wave. It clashed against the red beams, shaking the earth, cracking the air. The hunters recoiled, their red lights faltering for the first time. Alara stood glowing in the burning forest, her hair whipping in the strange wind. Her fear had not left, but it no longer ruled her. The bond had awoken more than connection. It had given her power, and as the hunters regrouped in the sky, Kale's voice whispered inside her mind, not with sorrow, but with awe. "You are more than I believed." Alone at last. The night burned with fire. The forest was torn apart, trees cracked and fell, the air thick with smoke and red light. Alara stood glowing, her hands trembling with silver power, the bond alive inside her. Kale fought beside her, his light clashing with the hunters above, each strike shaking the ground. But even as he stood tall, Alara could feel it, his strength fading. Through the bond, she felt his pain, his weakness, the weight of centuries pressing down on him. Every blast of his light drained him further. Every shield he raised flickered weaker than the last. Her chest ached, as if her own life was breaking with his. She shouted through the chaos, "Kale, stop! You can't hold them." Kale turned, his silver eyes dim but steady. "I must," he said simply, his voice calm in the storm. A hunter's beam cut through the trees, aiming for her. Kale leapt in front of it, his body flaring like a shield, the blast slamming against him. Alara screamed, her own light surging wildly. The ground shook, the hunters circled lower, their red eyes fixed on them like wolves. Kale fell to one knee, his glow flickering, his body trembling. "Alara," he said, his voice soft inside her mind. "The vow cannot survive me. It must live in you." Her breath caught, her heart cracking. "No," she cried, rushing to his side. "Don't say that. Don't you dare say that." He raised his hand weakly, silver sparks falling from his fingers. "You are the last hope, not me. My vow was never to save your world alone. It was to pass the light when I could no longer carry it." Tears burned her eyes. She shook her head. "I can't, Kale. I'm not strong enough. I don't know how." But his gaze stayed steady, even as his body dimmed. "You are stronger than you believe," he whispered. "The vow chose you, not because you were ready, but because you could become what was needed." The hunters fired again, red beams slamming against the shield Kale tried to raise. This time it cracked, shattering like glass. The blast threw him back, his light scattering across the ground like broken stars. Alara fell to her knees beside him, clutching his fading form. Through the bond, she felt his heartbeat weakening slower and slower. Her tears mixed with dirt, her voice breaking. "Don't leave me. I can't do this alone." Kale's hand touched hers, cold light against warm skin. "You will not be alone, Alara. I will always be within the vow." The hunters descended, their shadows stretching across the burning forest. Alara felt rage rise inside her, twisting with grief, burning with fear. The bond pulsed violently, light surging from her chest like fire. Kale's silver glow poured into her, flowing like a river into her veins. Her body shook, her mind filled with his voice, his memories, his vow. She gasped, silver flames racing across her arms. The hunters fired again, but this time the beam stopped inches from her body, bending, breaking apart into sparks. Her screams split the night, a sound of grief and fury. The vow awakened fully, no longer Kale's alone, but hers. Her light tore through the sky, brighter than the hunter's red fire. Kale's voice whispered one last time inside her mind, faint and fading. Alone at last, yet never alone again. And then his body dissolved into light, vanishing into her chest. Alara collapsed, gasping, her hands glowing, her heart burning with sorrow and power. She had lost him, but she had gained everything he carried. The hunters paused, their ships hovering, their red eyes flickering. For the first time, they did not strike. They seemed to hesitate, sensing something new, something greater than Kale alone. Alara lifted her head, her face streaked with tears, her body blazing with silver fire. She whispered, her voice shaking, "Come then, I am not afraid." The hunters screeched, their ships pulling back, retreating into the dark sky. They had not been defeated, but they had been warned. Alara stood alone in the ashes of the forest, the vow burning inside her. Her chest still ached with grief, the bond still heavy with loss. But she was not the same girl she had been before. The vow was hers now, her soul tied to a promise older than her world. Kale was gone, yet she felt him within every breath, every beat of her heart. She whispered into the night, "I will not let your vow die." The forest. She whispered into the night, "I will not let your vow die." The forest burned around her, the sky heavy with silence. And though she stood alone, she carried the light of two worlds. The final revelation. The night after the battle was silent. The hunters were gone, the forest burned low, and Alara stood among the ashes. Her body still glowed faintly with silver veins of light, her chest heavy with the vow. Kale's presence was no longer beside her, but inside her, quiet yet alive. Every step she took felt different. Her senses were sharper. The air spoke to her. The stars above hummed like distant voices. The bond was no longer only connection, it was transformation. She was still Alara, but she was also something else, something more. And with every breath, she felt the weight of Kale's vow pressing against her soul. She whispered into the night, "What do I do now?" The forest gave no answer, but the bond pulsed inside her, guiding her gaze upward. The sky shimmered faintly, a ripple moving across the stars like a veil pulled back. And then she saw it, hidden until now. A fleet of shadows spread across the heavens, silent watchers cloaked in darkness. Her heart skipped, her breath catching in her throat. The hunters had not been the true threat. They had only been scouts. The real force, the others Kale warned her of, waited beyond the stars. And now they had seen her, the girl who carried the vow. The girl who had survived when their hunter ships had failed. The bond surged, Kale's fading voice echoing inside her mind. "They know you. They fear you. They will come." Alara closed her eyes, tears slipping down her cheeks. "I don't want to be this," she whispered. "I don't want war. I just wanted to live." But the vow pressed harder, heavy yet steady, like a hand on her shoulder. Her knees weakened. She fell into the ashes, her hands sinking into the dirt. She felt small, lost, broken. But then the bond flared again, not only with Kale's voice this time, but with many. Shadows of faces she did not know, men and women of Earth, ancestors long gone, voices of those who once carried hope. They spoke together, a chorus inside her heart. "You are not alone." The words shook her, her tears falling faster. She saw visions again, ancient humans looking at the stars, Kale's people bowing in a vow, promises made across time. The vow had never been Kale's alone. It had always been shared, passed down like flame from hand to hand. And now it burned in her, brighter than ever. She rose slowly, her body glowing stronger, her voice steady though her heart still ached. "If they want to come," she whispered, "then let them see, let them hear." Her light surged upward, streaming into the sky like a beacon. It pierced the veil, reaching the dark fleet above. The alien ships stirred, shifting uneasily. The silver light spread farther, farther, until it touched the edges of the stars. And then, something unexpected happened. Across the broken earth, radios crackled alive, screens flickered, voices stirred. Scattered humans who thought they were forgotten looked up, hearing her call. Her words echoed, not only to the sky, but to her people. "I am Alara. The vow is alive, and we are not finished." Her voice rang across ruined cities, empty villages, hidden shelters where survivors gasped at the sound. Children pointed at the glowing sky. Old men wept. Women held their children tighter. For the first time in years, humanity heard a voice that was not silence. The alien fleet trembled, shadows pulling back. They had expected weakness, but instead they saw a fire they could not snuff out. They hissed in their strange tongues, retreating into the darkness beyond the stars. They were not defeated, but they were unsettled, and Alara knew they would return, stronger, hungrier. Her body dimmed, the silver glow fading slowly. She sank to her knees again, her chest heavy with exhaustion. But inside her burned something deeper than fear. Kale's vow, humanity's vow, her vow. She whispered softly, alone at last, but carrying all. The night settled, the flames of the forest cooling into smoke. Above her, the stars no longer looked empty. They looked alive. Every flicker of light reminded her of the bond she carried, of the war still to come. She stood again, weak but unbroken, and with the vow burning inside her, she walked forward into the unknown.